All right, guys, live as we're not going to do the catchphrases as we say on Patreon episodes. And Austin, we had the first episode we did last month hit the main feed. You already got some positive feedback on that?
I did, yeah. I've had several people message me and talk about how wonderful the show was. They loved it. That it was. They were talking about our chemistry together and how great it was. And the match, it lived up. I mean, it lived up to everything that everyone thought. And the WrestleMania 25, one of the greatest of all time. But the podcast itself, everyone, seemed to really, really have a good time and really loved it. Hopefully, we'll get some more Patreon people. That way we
to visit. We got DRO's with us tonight. He's watching, and we're gonna, if he has any questions afterwards, we will answer them. Real quick, you go to Peacock, and they have a real weird way of doing this, but look for this is Royal Rumble season 16 episode 1, and it's Royal Rumble 2003, and we are fixing to, as they say here in the South, watch Chris Benoit against Kurt Angle, and it's been a long time since I watched this. I watched it again this morning just to refresh my memory. But just so everybody knows, me and Austin aren't going to say, Gene Jackson and I did a show. Was it really that good? These matches, they're good. We already know that. We're not going to say. We're not even going to ask that question. What we want to do is this is a psychology show, so we're going to talk about psychology 101. Austin Lane's had many years. I'm not going to say how many in the business. I have many years around the business, and it gives you both those different perspectives because Austin can tell me why they're doing something, which makes it very interesting to me. I love doing the first episode, Austin. I told you afterwards on the Patreon version that at points I felt like you was telling me way more than I didn't even know. Things that you noticed that I don't, and vice versa. That's what I love about it. All right, so we're going to start. Season, again, here we go. Season 16, Episode 1, Royal Rumble 2003, and we're going to start at the 113.38 mark. That's 113.38, and I'm going to push play 3, 2, 1.
All right, there we are. Yeah, so this one will be a little bit different because, like I said, WrestleMania 25 was one of my favorite matches, if not my favorite match of all time. So I saw it numerous times.
Yeah, and I told you that was my first.
Yeah.
This right here is one of those matches I used to go back to watching things, and just a fantastic team. Talk about these guys right here, all three of them together.
Yeah, so the Team Angle gimmick, I absolutely loved it. I mean, you had like Charlie Haas, and when he was in developmental, he was there with his brother, and they were doing the Haas brothers, and his brother passed away. In that situation, but yeah, and then you have Shelton Benjamin, a guy who was an amateur wrestler as well as Charlie, and especially working in the tag, his first tag partner in WWE was with Brock Lesnar when they were doing the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. So you have three guys that are so technically sound. I love the gimmick because, usually you would, remember back in the Four Horsemen, you would have the brawlers and the technical guys, or, you'd always have something.
But all three of these guys, we believe in a sense that you could believe they're shooters in that they can beat you no matter what. So.
Yeah. And really, they really can for one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the whole gimmick together, and I love the Haas and Benjamin. They use the gimmick, the greatest, or is it the greatest tag team of all time, or something like that? The greatest tag team, and yeah, just love the entire gimmick. And then of course, and I'll let everybody know ahead of time right now, we won't talk about anything personal about. With Chris Benoit.
Nothing. This is about a wrestling match. Yeah, it has nothing to do with what. Yeah. We're not condoning it or anything like that. We sat down and we said, this is what we want to talk about this time. And it's, remember, 2003. I got some comments about this. This was 2003. And after we get into the match, I've got questions for you about it. So,
okay. Yeah, and so this is the first time I've seen this since 2003. I watched it a couple times that year, but yeah, it's the first time since then. And if you notice, like right here at the very beginning, right off the bat, they usually if you're going to have this is going to be two wrestlers, two technically perfect wrestlers wrestling each other. And usually, if you're going to get rid of the heels, the manager, or the guys that are out there, the lackeys or however you want to call it, they'll usually come up with a spot. The guy tripped the baby.
Right. But they did it right. Yeah, they did it right at the very front, which I love that. I didn't expect it. I don't remember that happening. So
yeah, I forgot that it happened as well. And I love, like, right off the bat, you watch it. I mean, you're watching this right here, and the lockup right off the bat is just so sound. It's so stiff, tight, as you would say. And if you watch a lot of it right here during this kind of filling out process, if you notice, a lot of times wrestling matches has a basic formula, the shine, the heat, the double down, the comeback, that kind of stuff. Well, the first two matches we've done here on this podcast, they've done what I really love is the filling out process, where it's not really a shine or heat at the very beginning.
Right. You start seeing some basic, you start seeing what I call basic psychology around the end of the match. But I'll just make the comment right now. What this is everybody talks about the New Japan style and AEW style. This is kind of the AEW New Japan style in 2003. And I mean, Benoit had been in New Japan and worked that style. But this is just a constant going. Why do you constantly go? Was it because you think they would give 17 minutes and they said, oh, we're going to give it all?
Yeah, I think that honestly at this point, it's a pride thing. A lot of times you get in the locker room, me myself, I'm guilty of the same thing. I want to go out there and I want to steal the show every time. And honestly, it's you get your basic story, what you have out of it, and these guys out here are just going out there and saying, hey, locker room, follow this. I mean, it's exactly what it is. You have other types of matches throughout it. I mean, this match, was preceded by, I believe, before this match, I think it was the Scott Steiner Triple H match.
It was the Scott Steiner Triple H, and that crowd didn't stop at all. Right there would be what we would call a heat spot, where he missed a move and the heel starts taking over. But watch this. This what surprises me. That's what I'm expecting, where we're going to get a real long heat spot here, where he beats him down, and it's a total different match than I expected.
Yeah, it really is, and that's some of the things that stands out to people. I mean, it's something you remember. I was going to go back. I actually missed it where he had a chance to. I was going to show you where Chris Benoit gave a punch to Angle, and if you notice right off the bat, the first thing he does is look down at his fist and shake his fist, and it's the little bitty things like we talked about before, the little things that make things look so much realistic. And this match, I'm telling you, if you're watching it, especially if you're watching it, live, if you're watching on the video or whatever, go right along with us. These guys are working tight. They're working snug. They're not working dangerous. There's a difference in working dangerous and working snug. These guys are working.
They felt it. Yeah. They knew it was coming. They felt the kick. They felt the punch. They felt everything in the match. It wasn't one of those things where you try to knock somebody out, but it was with these two guys saying, okay, I'm tougher than you kind of. There's still that ego there, right?
Yeah.
Do you still get it, Austin? Do you still feel the ego, even though you're in there with somebody you just want to do really, really good?
Yeah, exactly. With me, especially, if you put me in the car, if you go out there and say, hey, all right, Austin, you and Zay are working tonight, or you and Toomer are working, you and Brett Michaels, you and Mike Anthony, I'm going out there and that
stiff.
Yeah, that right there, I felt that one, John. But I'm going to go out there and it's going to be the same kind of deal. You have that ego. When I say I'm the best of the best, I believe it. So, and you have to believe it a little bit. You have to have that ego, that competition really comes out. And you notice right here, so many suplexes in this match between two guys that are very good, known for that. And the thing is both guys are really known for an aggressive style. And so that's what they're trying to really portray here is the aggressive.
The back and forth. Yeah, it's not like the whole thing where the very long heat. This is, like I said, very similar to New Japan, where it's more of a real fight in that each guy's going back and forth kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because and you, as a wrestler, you think about it, you're like, okay, I want this one to look as realistic as possible. There's, you know, even with Vince McMahon, you know, pulling back the curtain, myself, my mindset is when I go out there, I know that, you know, there are some out there, you know, kids especially, that still believe that it's real 100%. And I'll never say that it's not real. It's predetermined or scripted, but it is more real than,
yeah.
you know, a
Let
television
someone
show.
be in your shoes for a day and feel the way you do. I think he's got a busted bottom lip already.
Yes, yeah, he
Kurt
does.
Angle
Yeah,
does.
that you can see that. You can see.
Why
his face
would
pop
you
off
go?
the mat.
Why do you do this, Austin? Why do you go for the finishers early like this? Why do you do stuff like this? Do you just build to miss it, or you build for the second time it's going to be what's going to happen?
That's really it. For me, what you do is you want to, and you'll watch Angle also. Angle, now here comes Angle's turn, and you kind of go back and forth. You're going for the submissions or the finishers right there, right off the bat, because two things. One, you want to establish and remind people that that's your finisher and remind them that you could win the match. And then you also show that your opponent has scouted you. So it's not just that you went for the finisher. It's also showing the story that your opponent has scouted you. So it shows he's smart, that he's watching for it. But you know, it's not just about the, you know, building the crowd right then, that pop of, oh my goodness, he could win it. It's also about building for what's to come. Like you said, you know, building for the future, for what's going to happen, you know,
later in the match. Yeah.
And then what I love about it is, you know, and right up, you know, you see Benoit is working the back nonstop, like whether it's suplex. And a lot of times when I get together with a match, I'm thinking if you want to pick apart a certain body part, right? So I'll pick, you know, 3, 4, 5 different moves. Ooh, that beautiful overhead right there.
Kurt, you know, I know you heard me say this. I really think Kurt is the greatest wrestler ever. And I mean, I'll put him ahead of anybody. And especially in 2003, during these series of matches in this time frame, he is so good. So good.
Yeah, so very, very good. I mean, he is technically sound, technically perfect. You know, as the saying goes, you know, you want to go metal with a broken freaking neck. But yeah, but if you notice, like I'll pick together like 3 or 4 moves working that body part, whether it's the neck, the shoulder, you know, the arm, the leg, knee, back, or whatever. Pick apart certain moves that in my head, I'll keep it in my head, you know, as we're walking and talking out there, like, hey, all right, I'm going to give you, if I'm working the back, like, you know, Benoit do the backbreaker, and then he goes for the suplex, or like Angle doing the overhead, and then immediately going and working the back and the ribs against the guardrail. You know, it's picking apart those body parts. So you're telling that story. You know, you told the story for one that you went for the finishers, that the guys got you. He's noticed and that kind of stuff. And then now both of them, you know, Benoit did it, and now Angle is turned to actually working a body part, and Angle, you know, working the neck and the back and the ribs. And like right now, most people would say, okay, here you go. This would be a quote unquote a rest spot. Not much of a rest spot with these guys.
Not much, but you know, it was the point to say, let's slow down for just a couple seconds. Let me get my breath and let's see because they're both talking during this right here.
Yeah.
They're both going through what they're going to do next kind of thing. And so you look at the crowd, if you listen to it and look at the crowd, they was still really into this match. See, now Kurt had, Kurt had his mouth into his head telling him something. And at one point, Benoit had his hand over his mouth talking about something.
Yeah. And see, the crowd is into it because they were working that body part. If I'm going in and doing a certain, you know, if I'm just doing moves and then grab on a rest hold, people aren't going to be into it. They're into it because he's the rest hold, quote unquote, is a part of his story. You know, he's still working, and I love that. Beautiful, the arm drag out and right back.
Oh, another one.
Belly. Yeah, what we call the false hope spot right there, where the most common one in wrestling history is work your way up, duck to sunset flip,
right,
and then watch the clothesline. But I love how he went right back to the overhead, and then the side
Another
suplex
fall.
right there. If you
Yeah.
notice, so beautiful. I mean, it went up. The way he came down, he put him 100% flat right onto the mat. And I mean, so safe, even though it was so aggressive. I mean, it was so safe. I love seeing that. And then right back to what you would call a rest hold, but they're not using it. I mean, they're catching their breath here, but they're telling a story. It's, you know, the short spurts that Chris Benoit is doing, it's legitimately like he's trying to fight out of it, and then Angle does a big move to bring him back down, and then now what they're doing.
This is close to yeah, solid the basic psychology where he's turned into the baby face and he's trying to get out of every move that the heel's doing. Yeah. And then we'll still have a segment there where Benoit is just totally dominating. So
yeah. And see, the thing is both these guys are so good, and they're not going to blow
double down,
quote unquote double down, big old double down, the double clothesline. But yeah, those guys were not needing the breath. They were legitimately telling a story and letting the crowd get a breath. You know you're good when your rest hold is for the crowd to catch their breath.
Well, yeah, we mentioned it last. I was talking to you about really getting into what's in between the moves, not just the moves, and that's something I probably the last 4 years started looking at more because the way the New Japan style is that you do a move and you walk around, it's a little bit different, and that's kind of what they did here. They took not a break, but yeah, like you said, it's the double down. He's making a big comeback here. He's making his babyface hot tag comeback after a double down and just beating the hell out of Kurt Angle.
Yeah, and if you notice too, he's changing up because, you know, the comebacks that they're going to see throughout and right back to the back, you know, you right there on the back, he's working the German suplex, but he's doing it different. Like the comeback, everyone does the clothesline. His was different because he came up and fired up before, you know, without even a single bump. And then he started the actual, you know, started bumping him around. And as they say with the heels, you know, bump and feed. And then, of course, with both of them, knowing that both of them has that German suplex in their repertoire, both of them using it that way, you still see what he's doing. He's also telling that it's not just a complete comeback because Angle got a German suplex in the middle there too. It's showing that Angle's still not out of it.
And he goes back to the spot that he missed completely earlier. And this is where goodness gracious.
Done that spot many times. I actually call that the Angle spot.
Ugh.
Yeah. And literally, I'm like, hey, all right, you're going up. I'll angle you down. And the crazy here's a really wild one for you. I don't know if there's video footage of this one out there. I did Osceola, Arkansas, several years ago, and working against Harry there from the East Coast Bad Boys, and he went up top, going for the angle slam again. If you notice, back to back, here we go, going for the finishers, and then actually, I don't know, we don't have the audio going right here. That crowd is going crazy because it goes for the headbutt, Angle belly off. He goes for the angle slam, and Benoit finally gets in one of his finishes, which is the crossface. And crowd going crazy because they're like, okay, he's got him. And especially with submissions, what I like to do about submissions, it gives the guys a chance for facial expressions.
Right. Yeah. You're going, and then here we go. Benoit's going with Angle's finisher, the Angle lock there. And barring a move, right there, as they say. So there you go. I love that right there.
Yeah, Here we go into the finishers and the reversing submission holds into each other. And the little things, like you were seeing Chris Benoit going to pull Angle to the middle of the ring, but Angle holds on to the ropes.
Look at that. That was so pretty too.
So beautiful. Yeah, I mean, just going from one submission to the other, knowing those counters. Those guys have I guarantee you, they probably got in the ring, like just playing around at some point in time during their run there, and have gone through those reversals so many times. Just going back and forth and figuring out different ways to get out of it.
Right.
And what I love about
yeah.
it, the work out of the submission, and then Angle goes for a quote unquote knockout shot, goes for a bump spot, and then Benoit right back into the submission. What I love about submissions is you're able to tell that story using using the hand and telling that story, being able to go up, whether is he going to tap, is he not going to tap? Right
there we go. We go. There's the ending, guys. That's what I'm thinking at this point, and the fans are too. You get over there and pin him, and it's over. We got the Angle slam.
Yeah, the big Angle slam. Out of the big kick out. Crowd's going crazy. Roll over and sell. Roll over and use your facial expressions. Just taking that moment, not doing anything, laying there, is giving the crowd a chance to really, let the crowd pop
pulling the straps down, doing his Jerry Lawler for us. So
pulling the straps down. Back-to-back matches, we had straps pulled down.
There he goes.
And
he's in the middle of the ring. Remember that? Yeah. I just love Benoit coming out of that stuff. He was just so good too.
He was so good. Victory row. You don't see many of them anymore. Love that. Going for the German suplex into victory row. Coming up, German suplex. And we're going back to working that back, working the back of the neck, back of the head. And you notice it's not the three in a row. What they do, they reverse and they're giving each other. And the big one right there,
I love that spot.
Everything goes in threes, right? So the third one, you got what we're gonna do. Angle's gonna really show what he can do and moonsault out of it.
I didn't notice that when I watched, but you're right. They did do the three. They always did, but they just did it a little different. So
yep. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to give them the same thing over and over because, you want to have those spots. People say, oh, well, Cena had the 5 moves of doom. Those are a good thing. That means the people know those moves. So then when you get
go back to this, this is a third try. So at the third try, you pretty much think this is it. This is the end kind of thing.
Yeah, and selling it. Get the headbutt. What's headbutt? Common sense, your head going on his head, it's going to hurt. So he doesn't even go for the pin right there. He is legitimately taking and selling the head. He's holding his head before he ever goes to the pin.
Oh, that was close too. Very good, very good.
Yeah, close one right there. But yeah, look, if you look at beautiful headbutt, he comes down and immediately sells his head. Right back, you coming up. Let's get back to now. This right here is, I guarantee you, with this spot.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, and with that spot right there, it was one of those where, I guarantee you, when they were going over it, they were trying to figure out the cool stuff into our quote unquote popcorn spot, where we're getting pop, with the finishers. They came up. I guarantee you, they came up with that. I guess you'd say going up for the power bomb and then flattening him out behind him. I guarantee they came up with that. Just thought it would be really cool to be able to pull it off. And they added that into it. It's something you don't see either one of those guys doing very often.
Benoit selling, it's over, guys. It's over. I mean, that's why he's dead. And he goes right into the crib.
I love that so much. So, at that point, what you're doing is you're selling so much. I call it the dead sell, where you're out of it. It looks like you're out, either out on your feet, or, and in his case, Angle having to pick him up, and then out of nowhere going for the submission, huge pop, and then
all that. Yeah,
Angle is so good. Both of them are so good with their reversals, and this spot, especially this right here, the psychology. What you're doing is he's got it in tight. Chris Benoit going for different reversals that he's already used and showed throughout the match that it works. And Angle, so I guarantee you right there, if you look at it, I guarantee you Angle was supposed to hold on right there.
Maybe, yeah. You're probably right about that.
Because
he just held on. They went right to the same spot. Yeah.
Proof right there. So what they're doing is they're showing a lot of those reversals that Benoit has already done. Well, they put it together now that, with it later in the match. They're wore out. He goes for those same reversals, but Angle hangs on to it.
This is not something I remember Angle doing either on a regular basis, going into just a leg lock like that.
Yeah, I think he started doing that a little more toward like during his TNA days. But yeah, most of the time he didn't go to that very often.
That was the finish, guys. Something kind of out of nowhere where he had worked all the time on the leg and Benoit, tapped out. The idea about tapping out is that you're going to tap out because you don't want to hurt yourself, and that's why real UFC fighters tap out. It's not because they got you in a hold. There's no sense in staying in it because you can't get out of it, and that's what they were building for. And then all of a sudden, he's in this hold that he can't get out of, and boom, he's gone. He's going to get out of it before he can injure himself or end his career, kind of thing.
Yeah, and see, that's the deal. Let me talk about that for a moment, because a lot of times, even now, and I've worked with wrestlers recently that's the same thing. People think that tapping out is a bad thing.
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
No,
well, I try to tell people all the time. So you would rather take a finisher and 1, 2, 3 than tap out because you think that makes doesn't make you look as bad. I'm gonna tell you right now, especially for anyone listening, tapping out is the best way to lose. Because one, if I hit you with a Stone Cold Stunner and pin you 1, 2, 3, you got beat in the middle of the ring. You got knocked out, beat flat out. If you tap out to someone, to me, is even better on you because you are, hey, I'll live to fight another day. I will lose. I'll take the loss on this rather than take injury, and I'll get him on the next.
That's the way I always read a tap out. That's what you want to do because in legit, I mean, like I said, UFC, that's the way they look at it. I'm not going to get myself injured so I don't get but I don't see, I am a firm believer in clean finishes. I love clean finishes. This was a clean finish, no outside interference or anything like that. I do believe at any time I'm not saying you lose all the time, but you know how it is working. You can have somebody lose for X amount of time, but when they do make that one win and you keep them rolling with it, you can get someone over by doing that because they were expected to lose, so all of a sudden they won, or just make them interesting. That's the thing about it. With me, everybody's got to be interested. These two guys, to the best ever, to lace up the boots. I guess that's the best way of saying it. And there's no doubt about it. These guys knew what they were doing, knew they were having a great match, and I really liked this one.
Yeah, I did too. And if you notice after the match, the standing ovation for Benoit, taking and tapping out, losing the match did not hurt him, not one bit. It was the way the match was together. He got over. I think this is one of the matches that probably showed the WWE that this guy is a main event. He is a guy that can carry the company. And just the match was technically sound. It was, there wasn't a lot of story, so there wasn't a lot of psychology of story to tell out of it other than just the reversals and the submissions and just how technically proficient the match was. So, it was different than the first match we watched, which was more story. This one, I mean, there wasn't a lot of high spots out of it. It was a lot.
It was just constant, too.
Yeah.
This one was constant. I mean, we talked about a resto, then a double down, but other than that, it still all meant something. All right, we want to thank everyone for joining us. And if you're listening to this on the main feed, like I said, Patreon, it's $5, and you actually get to sit in and listen to us. And we're ending the show here in a few moments, but you do have the opportunity. If you want to type something in, DRO, we'll let you. I don't know if we bring you on. If we'll be, I mean, if you've got your mic set up, we got one of our Patreon members here talked about. He had some comments here. The Hoss brothers did come right through Memphis with Championship Wrestling for Memphis, and then the world's greatest tag team. Yep.
Yeah, world's greatest tag team. Yeah, I think I was saying like greatest tag team in the world or something like that. Yeah, it was world's greatest tag team. We got it. So yeah, especially especially, if you're listening on this main feed, come on here, get on Patreon. We're going to let Patreon people will actually be able to pick and suggest matches for us. You'll be able to ask questions. Ask questions during it. We'll probably be able to answer them after the match. But I'll answer questions for it. And, we'll even do a little bit of, I don't care, we'll do a little bit of shooting if you want to. Ask questions. I'm not going to lie to you or anything like that.
All right, I got a shoot question for you, Austin Lane.
All right, what you got?
Who's your favorite wrestler, and why is it Austin Lane?
I think Austin Lane may be my least favorite wrestler, honestly, because it's one of those. Everyone has the ego, but especially for me, I hate watching anything I do. Because I always pick apart what I
don't watch better. A lot of the video. I don't watch a lot of stuff repeat. Only the way I do watch stuff is like when I'm editing, if I have to edit the clip. Match was a lot better. David said it was a lot better than the needed on a Royal Rumble. Thought the Rumble match itself said the pay-per-view. Oh, you think it was a lot better than they needed? It's David. It had to do with those two guys. It didn't have anything to do with the build. It was those two guys trying to have a great match. That's those two guys. Every time they went into the ring, that was all it was about. And Benoit was even on his squash matches. He made it. He went in and just killed the guy, but he wanted you to remember his match after it was over. And Angle was always like that too. And I don't listen to Angle's podcast much, but I do know that he took pride in having the best match on the show. So
yeah, he really did. And I agree 100%. Usually the Royal Rumble match itself sells the pay-per-view people even tell you now WrestleMania is sold a year ahead of time, whether they know the matches or not, because it's WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble is kind of the same way. It's the Royal Rumble itself is the draw, but this is one of those where it was so good. To me, when I think of Royal Rumble 2003, I don't even remember who won the Royal Rumble that year. All I remember
I have no idea. Yeah, I just know that at this time SmackDown was hot. It was a really good TV show, had a lot of good talent on it. Ain't this where Heyman and Undertaker and all of them kind of did the stuff because they told them they couldn't get as good of ratings or something? This was during that run. So there's a lot of good stuff there. All right, man, I'm going to get off here. I got to eat supper. I'm a fat boy on a diet, and that really makes me hungry. So thank you, Austin. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, DRO. We do appreciate it. Thank you, Patreon. And like we said, if you're listening to it on the main feed, come on, join us next time. I don't know, but I promise you we will find a tag team match. I want to do a tag team match. So other than that, that's all I know.
A couple ideas for matches that I'd like to do. You talk about tag teams. I really like the AEW Revolution tag match between Kenny Omega and Adam Page against the Young Bucks. Also, one is for singles, the NXT Philadelphia Johnny Gargano and Andrade match was really, really good.
That is an excellent match. Both of those are excellent matches. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.